Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Tactful Technician. Today, we'll be distinguishing the different characteristics of RV windshield gaskets and demonstrating some best practices for gasket replacements. Sometimes there's confusion between gaskets and moldings. Gaskets secure a windshield to the coach and have structural properties because they actually hold the windshield in place to the body of the coach. Moldings, however, while they look like a gasket, especially when on a coach, are merely a garnish trim that hides the edge of the glass and keeps contaminants out of it. Unlike gaskets, moldings have no structural properties. If there's any question about whether the coach you are working on has a gasket or a molding, check with a customer service representative for clarity. There are two types of gaskets, universal and molded. Universal gaskets usually fit a majority of coaches, but not all. They come in rolls cut in 32-foot increments. They also hang loose on the body when initially installed. Therefore, you have to give it a push, feeding it into the corners. Stuffing the gasket into the corners helps create a tight fit. Failure to do so will result in a poor fit. A tight fit is imperative to successful installation. Molded gaskets have preformed corners made for certain shields and are not coiled into a roll. One common type of molded gasket is the figure 8, which makes up 90% of the gaskets used in two-piece windshields. Characteristics of gaskets may vary in profile and lock bead style. Here are a few of the different profiles and lock beads you will likely encounter. Profiles can be H-style or offset. The H-style profile is distinguished by edges that come up into the shape of an H. The glass is smaller than the opening and rests directly above the frame. Offset gaskets are exactly as the name suggests. They sit in front of the fiberglass lower lip. The large lip sits on the frame behind where the glass rests. It's held by a channel that is slightly off-center from the body of the coach. As for lock beads, there are two types: a separate lock bead and a self-locking. A separate lock bead, or a rubber cord that comes with the gasket, goes in the gap of the pinch weld to help seal it closed and remove the gap. A self-locking lock bead is built right into the gasket itself. When Coach Glass sells a gasket, it comes with everything necessary to make it successful installation. Though a gasket set windshield is being replaced, it doesn't always mean the gasket itself must also be replaced. If the gasket is damaged, deteriorated due to UV exposure, or contaminated from silicone or release agents, it should be replaced. If it is contaminated, it will make the adhesive unable to adhere. Very seldom will you actually have to replace the gaskets. Windshield installations generally go more smoothly when utilizing the existing gasket. With coaches that are more than 10 years old, it is a good practice to begin inspecting the condition of the gaskets. There's also a risk taken when replacing the gasket in a two-piece windshield because you must remove both shields to replace the gasket. This increases the risk of glass breaking or being damaged during the process. Often, most insurance companies won't cover gasket replacements because they don't see it as being necessary, classifying it as wear and tear. These are some of the recommended procedures to adhere to when performing a gasket replacement. Inspect how the windshield opening was cut from the factory. Test fit the shield in one opening to ensure the glass fits and is the right size. Clean gasket thoroughly with either glass cleaner or denatured alcohol. This is particularly critical where it touches the glass, body, and anywhere the adhesive is applied. Gaskets are vulcanized rubber, which means they can be covered in talc powder. If the powder is present, clean it off thoroughly to allow the adhesive to adhere to the gasket. Remove any high spots and jagged edges on the windshield opening, as they can create pressure points that could lead to breakage. Install the gasket into the opening. If the gasket keeps falling down or doesn't fit right, tape it up temporarily using painter's grade tape while installing the glass. Sometimes clean surfaces and certain gaskets can make it harder to stay in place before the glass is installed. The tape will aid you in keeping the gasket in place until you put the glass in. For an H-style gasket, install one or both shields, set the lock bead in place. For an offset gasket, apply the urethane to the pinch weld first, then install the gasket. On white coaches, it is recommended that you apply tape on the outside of the gasket to keep the coach clean and minimize post-installation cleanup. Use a high-quality painter's grade tape to avoid stripping paint off the coach. Circumstances can vary. When presented with an unusual case, it is best to talk with the customer to arrive upon the best course of action. Communication is key, and good teamwork always produces the most effective results. This is a generic guideline, but it varies from coach to coach. For more information, call us at 1-800-714-7171. We hope you found this information helpful. Thank you for choosing Coach Glass, your partner in RV and specialty glass replacement. By the way, can you see me?
I can read. I'm gonna make a point.
H shape. I blew that total thing before it. Suggests. This just in. As for lock beads. If it is. Oh man.
You are so close to being cool. And cut. That's a wrap.